500, 5,000, 50,000? What are you going to pay for a divorce in Illinois? That's what we're going to talk about right now. Hey everyone, welcome to Illinois Divorce TV, where we break down everything related to divorce and custody in Illinois. I'm attorney Robert Buchanan. Now let's dive in. Today's topic is probably one of the first ones that you ask yourself when you're thinking about divorce or thinking about hiring a lawyer for divorce. How much is this going to cost me? The answer to that question depends on your situation, but comes down to one fundamental question. Can you and your spouse agree? And I don't mean can you agree on the fact that you should get divorced. I mean, can you agree on how you're going to split up the property? And if you have kids, how you're going to care for the kids? So you're saying, yeah, we agree on how to split the property. That's simple. I get everything. Sorry to say that's probably not going to happen. So let's say you're being reasonable. You want to split it down the middle, or you want to take what's in your name and your spouse takes what's in their name. How complicated can it be? Well, it doesn't have to get super complicated, but you will have to make some decisions based on your situation. Let's say you and your spouse own a house that you bought during the marriage. Obviously, after the divorce, you're not both going to be living in the house. And if that's what you're considering, I'd recommend reconsidering. So you have three options. You buy your spouse out, your spouse buys you out, or you sell the house. The best option for you is going to depend on who is on the mortgage, whether both of you could refinance and remove the other party if you wanted to, and if the house is underwater or has some equity. I want to keep things simple here, so I won't go in any deeper than that. Which route you choose here leads to another set of considerations. Let's say that you decide your spouse will buy out the other one and refinance. What is going to happen for some reason after the divorce if your spouse cannot refinance? People lose jobs, housing markets change, exes sometimes act goofy, things happen. You might want to plan for these contingencies and think about your plan B. That plan B can be part of your divorce. So that gives you a small taste of some of the more detailed and nuanced decisions you might have to make in your divorce. But let's be fair. This all comes down to risk tolerance. What do I mean by risk tolerance? Well, growing up, my dad never bought a new car. He always bought used cars from private sellers. Way back in the day, he'd review the classifieds in the newspaper for cars about 8 to 10 years old. He thought that was the sweet spot. So once he met with a few owners, he'd eventually find one that seemed like a good deal. Not too many miles, no rust spots, no oil on the driveway, a good smelling interior. You get the picture. At this point, in his shoes, some of you would just take out your cash, haggle the best deal, pay, and drive away. Not my dad. My dad would insist on taking the car to a mechanic. If the owner was trustworthy, they'd say yes. My dad would take the car either to his own mechanic or someone local to the car, and he'd pay them $50 to $100 to do a solid once over. And with the mechanic's approval, he'd make his final decision to buy or not buy the car. That's what I mean by risk tolerance. Throughout the car buying process, my dad would spend a couple $100s on mechanics, but he wasn't willing to take a flyer on a car from an unknown person. So let's bring it back to your divorce. The detail necessary in your divorce papers and the amount of help you might need depends on your and your spouse's comfort level with the risk of further litigation after the divorce is over. If you want to lessen the chance of further litigation, then you're probably going to want more detail in your divorce agreement, or at least you're going to want a lawyer to review things beforehand to look for obvious pitfalls. Okay, so what does this all have to do with your question? How much will a divorce cost in Illinois? Well, let's talk about your options for getting it done. There are a few. You could go to the courthouse for the paperwork and try to fill it out yourself. You could go online, Google do-it-yourself divorce and pay a few $100s for some forms. You could seek out an attorney that offers a coaching or drafting service. You could look into flat fee options, or you could hire an attorney to handle every single aspect. As you can imagine, each of these options has a different cost, and the right one for you is going to depend on your situation. There are plenty of people who get it done without calling a lawyer, and some of them never have any issues down the road, and some do. As I said before, this has to do with risk tolerance. The most conservative approach, and a very good one, is to hire a lawyer to handle every single aspect. The riskier approach is to try to do everything on your own. The actual amount of risk there is going to depend on your situation. Also, it's important to note that if you do it on your own, you will have to figure out the specific steps to take the case from A to Z, from filing the case, getting signatures, scheduling the final court date, and sending out any necessary notices by mail. The courthouse staff does not help much with this stuff. All right, let's talk numbers. How much is this going to cost? We'll start at the bottom. First things first, whichever route you take, you're going to have to pay the filing fees, which is about $350 to file the case and $200 for your spouse if you're entering into an agreement. These fees can be waived if you show the court that you make below a certain income level. Okay, first option. You go to the courthouse for the paperwork and you try to fill it out yourself. This is free or very close to free. These forms are typically bare bones and will not cover anything beyond the very basics. No plan Bs, little protection, no mechanic giving the car a once-over. Next option, you go online and pay for a DIY divorce service. These types of services cost anywhere from $150 to $750. The difference in price is usually related to additional services that might be provided. A review by a lawyer, help with form preparation, and other services. A quick tip, beware of guarantees here like guaranteed to be accepted by the court. In reality, accepted by the court doesn't mean much legally speaking. In a future video, I'll be doing a comprehensive review of these services. Next is coaching and drafting. Not all attorneys offer this service, but it is a great option for many. You get the benefit of an attorney's experience without having to pay a huge retainer fee. Coaching is usually sold in 15-minute increments and is priced around $75 per increment, and that's $300 per hour, which is a competitive rate for an attorney's time. The drafting is probably going to cost between $500 and $3,000 depending on the complexity of your issues. Closely related to coaching and drafting are flat fee options. Many attorneys offer a flat fee for a basic amicable divorce. This option might be good fit if you want the security of the traditional attorney-client relationship, but you don't want the unpredictability of a retainer and hourly billing. Typical rates here are anywhere from $1,500 to $7,500 depending on your situation. Finally, we have the traditional attorney-client model. You pay a retainer and are billed hourly for the attorney's services. A retainer is just a prepayment for services. It's not a flat fee, it's not an estimate. It's your getting started price. This is a good option if there are a lot of variables in your case and you need an attorney to guide you through every single aspect of your case and to look out for your best interest. Typical retainers range from $2,000 to $7,500, and hourly rates range from $200 to $500 per hour. So there you have it. So to decide what's best for you, I'd recommend taking an inventory of your situation and your own tolerance for risk. If you have more questions, a good option is to find an attorney that you can trust, ask for a consultation, and the attorney can give you some options based on your situation. Check out the description below for some more info. Check out my other videos for other helpful info, and don't forget to like and subscribe.